could see there was something going on. Again, there was quite a bit of spray.
Clearly I made a mistake. I just spun up the rear wheels when I was on the metal grille, which separates the real part of the circuit and that extra part of the track that we use.
But I saw this bouncing rear wheel, which I think was actually David's, and I saw it bounce over me, but it actually landed on the back wheel and broke the suspension.
My hands naturally came to my helmet and actually were holding on to the front of my chin piece inside my visor like that, just to make sure that if I was hit again by anyone, it would reduce the sort of flapping around of your head.
I was hitting on the right, on the left, I was hit by the front.
Mika Salo just missed me by 20 centimeters or whatever.
Hitting and smacking, and so they came up to me and they basically like stopped on my visor.
This may be the only sports show all weekend that will not focus on the home run derby between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Yes, even though McGwire's forearms are this big here in this sport. If you get a dinger, that's bad. If you go deep, that can have disastrous consequence. And if you go yard, you are out of here, out of the race. Baseball may once again be America's pastime, but here in Italy, Formula One is the nation's passion. Welcome to round 14 of the FIA World Championship. Formula One racing from Monza, Italy. Hi everyone, I'm Mike Joy for our Toyota pre-race with five-time winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Derek Bell. Your first Formula One start came here for Ferrari at Monza. What a thrill that must have been.
Yeah, well, it's unbelievable to drive for Ferrari at the home. You know, it is the home of Ferrari racing, and it's just unbelievable to be there for your first Grand Prix. And it's rather like being an American going for your first Indianapolis race. Absolutely unbelievable atmosphere, unique.
I would imagine. Look at the crowds, look at the Tifosi in those Ferrari red shirts. In the world's best car, the McLaren Mercedes has 6 victories, while Michael Schumacher, the world's best driver in a very good car, the Ferrari F300, has 5. David Coulthard, a winner in San Marino, and 2 weeks ago, Damon Hill, a winner in, Derek, what looked like the wildest Grand Prix race ever.
Well, it was certainly the wildest start I've ever seen in many, many years. Torrential rain conditions, of course, and look at the mayhem created there. David Coulthard on the right of your screen, got a little bit out of shape coming at the last source on the first corner, and then everybody collapsed in him. 22 cars involved, $5 million worth of damage. They had to stop the race. Look at that McLaren hit by everybody. Fortunately, miraculously, due to the safety features, nobody was hurt. Second restart. Damon Hill takes the lead. Michael Schumacher being edged out by Hakkinen, but Hakkinen floors it too much, spins around, and poor old Johnny Herbert becomes just an innocent bystander taken out of the race yet again. But look at this. This was the highlight of the accident. Michael Schumacher, 3 wheels as he goes by David Coulthard. Totally misjudged it, totally out of control, wants to get back there and sort out David. But at the end of it, it was Damon Hill takes home his teammate Ralf Schumacher. Damon obviously totally elated, Ralf a little bit subdued because he felt he should have won.
And John Alesi, pole winner and second last year, third this year in Belgium. So Schumacher, had he won, he would come to Monza with a 3-point lead. Instead, he is still 7 points behind Mika Hakkinen. Coulthard, Irvine, and Villeneuve, the defending champion, out of the title chase. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren Mercedes leads Ferrari by 23. The also-rans, Williams, Benetton, and Jordan complete the top 5.
There's a little bit of both, Mike. David Coulthard has been seen that, in fact, he was only on 54% of his throttle, whereas Michael was on 100%. Michael, I believe, totally misjudged it. He thought David was on full tilt. Michael was 34 seconds in the lead. He didn't really have to make that move. He should have given more room, but, you know, the adrenaline's coursing around your veins. You get back to the pits. All you want to do is get out there and hit somebody. After all, you're leading the race. Has it been an hour and a half into it, 180 miles an hour on the wet? Your adrenaline is pouring, and you want to get and hit somebody. And, of course, you look for David as an scapegoat.
And unlike most forms of American racing, there are no spotters to inform the driver. He's right there, he's moving over, or he's going to let you by. So a racing incident. The 2 drivers met this week, Thursday. Bernie Ecclestone brought them together, Schumacher and Coulthard, to discuss the incident, shake hands, and come away realizing it was a racing incident with no evil intent. David Coulthard tells us about that meeting and about the incident in Belgium.
Obviously, it's a regretful situation because of the fact he was leading and I was way down in 8th and being lapped. And the whole situation, as I explained at the time, was just I couldn't see blue flags until the team had told me Michael was behind me. I responded within 2 corners to their request for me to let him past. And I felt that I was doing a sensible thing, you know, maintaining an acceleration that was slower than normal and keeping well to the right-hand side, which in this case is the racing line. And I recognise that maybe that's not the best place given that the amount of spray that was there, but I still feel that irrespective of whether I'm on the racing line or not, it's the responsibility of the guy behind to not run into the guy in front. And you know, I talked that through with Michael. He maybe still doesn't agree 100% with that, but I'm pretty comfortable in my mind it was just a racing incident. He did actually manage to avoid me enough that he ended up just catching the tyre in the rear of the wing with his front wing. So it was a jolt, and I switched on the radio in disbelief saying that a Ferrari has just gone past on 3 wheels. You know, I didn't really know what to say, and it's not a pleasant experience.
Now Schumacher was able to continue around to the pits and garage area. I wonder if he could have finished that race on 3 wheels. And I'm a little ahead of my notes. Jean Alesi, who was 3rd last week, had the pole and finished 2nd here in Italy last year, not in Belgium. Cars moving around to form the grid, and little odd bits of debris flying off here and there. At one of the chicanes.
Looks like a bit of Ferrari to me.
It's certainly the right color. Our Toyota pre-race continues after this word here in Monza, Italy.
The track did dry out quite dramatically towards the end. They did set remarkably quick times. Look at that wonderful crowd. Nevertheless, it was Michael Schumacher really that stole the show the whole way. He got his first pole position, and then David Coulthard went out. He got a really super quick lap in, eventually qualifying 4th. And then, of course, out goes Michael again, gets another shot. Jean Alesi gets up there, and he actually gets pole for a while, and we thought, wow, this is going to be something else with the Ferrari engine. But Mika Häkkinen had a grin as he went out. He gets pole position. He just kept swapping and changing the whole time as the track dried out. They went quicker every lap, but at the end, it was Michael Schumacher that went out, and he got the stunning pole position against all odds. We all thought the McLarens would be there, but it's Jacques Villeneuve, got on the front row as well. Absolutely outstanding, but Michael, he was the boy. He has 1 or 2.
Stewart, he will start 13th in this afternoon's Grand Prix. There's Jackie Stewart, as if those plaid pants weren't a giveaway. This season is winding quickly to close.
Well, they've got to be very close, haven't they? They can't afford to be far away. They've got to have a result. Remember, they've had only 1 failure all year. So, I mean, the odds are stacked against them as far as getting both cars to the finish mechanically. However, they've got to win, and that's what it's all about. Michael had the chance last race and blew it, unfortunately. So it's all down to this one as well. And Mika Häkkinen surely can't believe his luck.
Now, what of Jacques Villeneuve? Because Villeneuve, he's not in this championship chase. He's starting on the front row, and he has said yesterday, he said he's going to go for it.
Yes, he said that. Ron Dennis, in fact, invited him to perhaps help the McLarens a little bit. Maybe what happened back at Jerez last year. And Jack says, no way, sunshine. I'm on my way out there, and I'm going to win the race if I can.
There's his teammate Frentzen. Heinz-Harald Frentzen will start from 12th position. Derek, take us around Monza and show us why it's such an exciting circuit to drive on and to watch a race on.
3.85 miles. It's the most glorious circuit in the Monza Park, set here just near Milan, and a little bit bumpy coming into the first chicane. You're coming in there at 215 miles an hour, overrun over all the curbs here. There were some lumps, some sort of reflectors up there, which actually was tearing the wings off. In practice, they've taken those away. Now we storm through the Curva Grande, the big curve. It was outrageous in earlier days, but nowadays, of course, we've got these horrible little chicanes that go in there just to slow everybody down into the old Lesmo. The first Lesmo leads us into the second Lesmo. Off the throttle a little bit, back off a little bit, down a gear, back on it again, 4th gear, storming out down this straight through this left-hand Curva del Seraglio, the old part of the circuit under the bridge. Very great feeling as you go under there, braking severely, putting 3G going into the Ascari chicane. Quite a long chicane, one that is quite fun, one of the nicer chicanes. You can run all the curves as you storm down this back straightaway. Of course, it's a course with low downforce setup. The car gets a bit nervous at the rear, but the car turns in well, nips in here into the Parabolica. Probably one of the more demanding corners on the circuit. Out on the pit straight, back up to 220 miles an hour. Let's go down and talk with Jarno Trulli and Jean Alesi. Yeah. They're pre-season testing, but they're right there and they're very fast.
Eddie Irvine will start 5th, and Ralf Schumacher is the quickest Jordan this week.
Ralph proving that really he is worth his weight in gold when he moves to Williams.
Alexander Wirtz for Benetton will line up 7th. Jean Alesi was on the provisional pole, but then got stuck behind Rosset on his fastest lap.
The Benetton's not at all happy with the fact that they're having to run the narrower front tyre here. They wanted to run the broader front tyre, but Bridgestone only brought the wide one, the narrow one, so they're not very happy about that.
Both of the Prosts are in the top 10. Alain Prost and his two drivers very happy about that.
Well, both these two cars, they test here. This is one of their test tracks, and that's why I think we're seeing them up so close to the front.
On his fastest lap, Giancarlo Fisichella said he got balked by Jos Verstappen, so he's back in 11th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 12th. Then in the 7th row, Rubens Barrichello is the fastest of the stewards, and Damon Hill had to overtake a slow car in a corner, so he's back in 14th on what would have been his fastest lap. Johnny Herbert for Sauber in 15th. Mika Salo's arrows will line up in the 16th slot. Back in row 9 is the steward of Jos Verstappen, and Ricardo Rosset is not last. The Tyrrells are in 18th with Rosset, and his teammate Takagi will line up in 19th today. Pedro Diniz had trouble in qualifying. He is back in 20th. And rounding out the field, the caboose and the train are the Minardi team. Once again, Nakano and Tuero are each some 4 seconds off the pole qualifying pace. Cloudy, cool day here in Monza, Italy. Great day for racing. Our pre-race coverage continues on Fox Sports Net after this. Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Italy. Our Toyota pre-race winding up and the grid clearing for the formation lap. Michael Schumacher in Ferrari and Jacques Villeneuve in the Williams on the front row. It is but 66 degrees. Temperature of the asphalt 82. Humidity is reasonable, hardly any breeze, and despite those clouds, not much chance of rain. Mika Hakkinen comes in here with the World Championship lead, 7 points over Michael Schumacher, whom, had he won in Belgium, would have a 3-point lead today. But racing is full of couldas, wouldas, and shouldas, and ifs. So Schumacher continues to trail Hakkinen. Testing here at Monza indicated that McLaren would have an advantage and would be quick and should win today, but along come those couldas, wouldas, and shouldas again.
Well, there's tons of couldas and wouldas, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, McLarens have been so quick. They were very quick this morning, but now I think you're going to see team strategy really come into play. I think you're going to see maybe the fact they'll send Coulthard out. He ran very quickly this morning. Maybe he was running on lighter fuel tanks. They might send him out in front to try and push Michael so that Michael has to really scores his tires up and let Hakkinen cruise behind and keep it all together. Of course, they might use Eddie Irvine to perhaps nudge one of the McLarens off, because Eddie is right behind them. You never know, Eddie's done stranger things than that in the past. It's going to be a very intriguing race. Of course, Bridgestone runners are running a slightly harder tire than they would like to have done for this race, because all the testing was done in much hotter ambient temperatures.
Well, and do you expect 1 or 2 pit stops, Derek?
Well, I think it's going to be 1 for Ferrari, basically, and I'm sure McLaren would rather run 1. But, of course, you get the situation here, and I think that they're going to go for lighter fuel loads on a couple of cars. It could be that Irvine will run a light fuel load to get out there and cause a bit of a stir as well. Maybe it's one team out fumbling another. It's going to be a lot of very interesting strategy, but they should pit maybe around about 30 laps. But who knows, stranger things have happened. Remember, of course, we're running these groove tires this year, and they do seem to wear maybe a little bit more.
In the morning warm-up, the McLarens were quickest, then Schumacher. Now, Jacques Villeneuve was not nearly as fast as those 3 cars, but could he be the bullet on the start here?
Well, I'm sure Jacques, he said many times, I've got all to gain and nothing to lose. So he's going to give it all he can, and he'd love to be in front right now, because I think it's one of the few occasions he's going to be up front for a couple of years, because he's going to the new team, and for the best will in the world, I can't see the new BAR team being that competitive straight away. So Jacques, we know he's got this tremendous talent. We're going to have to see just what he can do.
Wasn't there a rumor in the paddock this weekend about him wanting to stay at Williams?
Well, I think he might have whispered at Frank, please, can I stay? So would I. But remember when they talked about leaving, and they were midfield. But, you know, you can never keep a good man down, and it's obviously the fact that Williams are always going to come back, despite losing a lot of their top engineers. They reform, and Frank Williams is a very shrewd operator.
Mika Hakkinen has gotten great starts this year. He will come from 3rd on the grid. That's Schumacher just ahead, and on the right corner of your screen, Jacques Villeneuve. Back of the grid forming up now as we get set for the start of the Italian Grand Prix of Monza, Ferrari's 601st Formula One start.
Schumacher had a terrible remarkable start. He's way back. Look at the McLarens round the outside.
And so did Villeneuve. Villeneuve did not get off the line at all.
Oh, straight across the dirt. That was Frentzen, I believe. But no incident there. They've actually put some stones out there, so if everybody runs off, they can actually run down these paving stones.
What a horrid start for the front row sitters. Who would have believed that both McLarens would be there?
Schumacher going by now. He zips by Jacques Villeneuve coming into the chicane. Eddie Irvine, I believe it is, it's lying third, and Michael's fourth.
Damon Hill got 2 wheels off there at the inside of that chicane.
The McLarens were so good there in warm-up this morning, and they've been so dominant during testing during the last few weeks that one had to expect this. But Mike, I thought the McLarens were moving a little bit too soon on the start line there. I must admit, Häkkinen was on the move behind Michael long before Michael was, but maybe Michael was late. But obviously Michael did not want to get a penalty.
Well, it was a bold move by the McLaren Mercedes team with the championship hanging in the balance to try to push through for the front spots on the start, but look at how it's worked, and we have a familiar picture. 2 McLarens trying to race away from the field. I'm crushed.
Yes, well, and then got Eddie Irvine sitting there. Let's ride now with Mika Häkkinen.
I'm crushed not for Ferrari and not for Schumacher, but for the fact that we expected a better race than to see the 2 silver cars out front once again.
Well, we haven't seen that. I suppose Spa completely overrides everything I've seen all year, I must admit.
Right.
It seems a long time since we saw them storming in front, but it must make you think, those 2 McLarens, they've got their work, they've done their sums right. Look, they've just stormed off and got like 2.5 seconds already. Schumacher looking down the inside of Eddie. He wants to get down past them as they enter the chicane here, but I'm afraid Eddie just doesn't want to give up any time. He doesn't want to lose speed. I mean, there's a bunch of very hungry drivers behind him.
Villeneuve in 5th. 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, and the Williams of Villeneuve.
There's even been talk this weekend of the McLarens maybe using 7 speeds in their gearbox, and the way they've stormed away on the straights. Look at that! It makes you wonder whether maybe they are running 7th, rather like an overdrive on the cars. They said in warm-up they seem to be really storming away. Michael, in fact, is running his spare car. Schumacher's running spare.
Now watch that Schumacher on the right bottom of your screen.
Whoa, was Häkkinen lucky there that Jacques Villeneuve moved out of the way. He was very, very lucky.
He could have launched right over Villeneuve.
Absolutely. Villeneuve was really looking in his mirrors at the start. He saw that very well.
And Coulthard came around the outside of Schumacher. There's Frentzen and 2 other cars shortcutting the chicane.
But what they've done is they've laid some paving stones in there so that the guys have to take evasive action. They don't actually have to run through the sand, which seems very Italian.
So McLaren Mercedes prevails in the opening laps. Ferrari finds themselves from the front of the grid now playing catch-up.
And a lot of catch-up they've got to do. In training in the last few months, McLaren have shown that they're about 0.6 of a second quicker than anybody else in the field. But we always hope, of course, that maybe Ferrari were just holding back a little bit, not totally showing their hand. Remember, these Bridgestone tires supposedly weren't going to work quite as well in this cooler ambient conditions, and we expect the Goodyears to be somewhat better. And talking about Goodyears, we hear that Goodyear will almost definitely not be in Formula One, will definitely not be in Formula One next year.
Yes, what had happened, Derek, was the Goodyear shod teams, which include Ferrari, have not been able to get any technical information from Bridgestone about tires for 1999. So Goodyear kind of had to come out and say they've told their employees and they have told the teams they supply they will not be back in Formula One this year, but they've done a tremendous job of continuing to develop their tires because they hope to go out of Formula One on a winning note. So now that is official, now Bridgestone can pass along technical info to the teams for 1999. But Goodyear will not be back in Formula One next season, which is consistent with what they've said from the start of the year. Here's the start again.
Talk about traction control. Makes you wonder what they had on that car, because it absolutely just went. But then McLaren's, they practiced, they work away at these starts, and they did a brilliant job on that start, one has to admit.
John Force doesn't launch from the line like that.
See, Schumacher's easing away from Eddie Irvine now. Coulthard's got the fastest up at 127.4. They were doing 125s in qualifying. We'll just have to see if Schumacher can perhaps make his way a little bit up. He's 3.8 seconds behind Coulthard at the moment. But remember, of course, that Michael might well be going for a one-stop strategy. There's I may say that's Erhia, which was Mika Häkkönen's wife.
If the McLarens are right now running 2 seconds off pole time, we have a green but dry track. Derek, would that more indicate that they're running on completely full tanks and plan just a one-stop race?
If I was Ron Dennis, I'd have gone for a strategy whereby one or the other could have the option to win, and that would be running a different strategy. Now, David Coulthard is right up behind Mika, which makes one believe that maybe Mika's on the one-stop and David's on a two-stop. And David can run so close behind him and he would really like to get by.
And the same could be said for Ferrari, with Schumacher distancing Irvine rather early. Perhaps Schumacher is running a light fuel load.
But then you see Michael was quicker in qualifying quite substantially than Eddie. Eddie was quick on Friday. Eddie was at the top of the sheets on Friday.
True. Ralf Schumacher pressuring for 5th place. By those chicanes make Monza look like a go-kart track.
They really do, yes. It's destroyed it. It's such a pity. You can see this wonderful park. And they've had to put these chicanes in. The speeds would have been just astronomical if they hadn't.
Back behind Ralf Schumacher, Jean Alesi and Damon Hill also battle for position. Here are your leaders. And there is the gap back to 3rd place, Michael Schumacher, 4.5 seconds from the leading McLaren of Mika Häkkinen, hoping to expand his lead in the World Championship chase here at Monza. 7 points coming in here. Of course, a win is worth 10 points. So Schumacher definitely still in contention, but needs a good result here to stay within striking distance of McLaren. He could lead here with the point lead, as was said at Belgium.
Absolutely. You just daren't say too much too soon. They're coming down the Parabola now. It's a very, very interesting corner. It's like almost a double apex corner. Look how long it is. It comes right the way out onto that straight, and you have to be set up so well as you come. You play with the throttle as you're taking it through, drifting a little bit. You don't want too much understeer, not too much oversteer. But look at it, just breaking up the track. The guys are just, sort of slipping back here into groups.
2 Ferraris chasing down the McLarens in and amongst the chicanery. I think that was Eddie just kind of ignoring the second part of that chicane.
Those things happen from time to time. You come in, you think, well, there's nobody. If I try to get in there, he's going straight for that green bit in the middle. See, he misses out, basically misses out all this sand and goes across that green bit, which is made that if they have to take escape route, they can do without destroying the car. And after all, you do want to keep as many cars in the race as you can. But if he made up, obviously, any time on that, he would have been penalized quite heavily.
Looked as if he might have locked the breakup coming into the corner, totally missed the first apex and then just shot across.
Schumacher's actually maintaining that gap between he and Häkkinen, and that is promising for Ferrari that he can do that. But you're just seeing Schumacher has to drive this Ferrari absolutely on the limits all the time. But remember, Irvine could be on a one-stop strategy.
McLarens are 1-2, Ferrari 3-4, then the Williams and the Jordan. We'll be right back. 9 to 10 on Fox Sports Net, Fox Sports News Prime Time, with all the scores, highlights, and breaking stories of your hometown teams. 7 nights a week we're there. Fox Sports News Prime Time tonight at 10. Check your local listings. Derek, a lot of shortcutting across the chicanes. One of the arrows just grabbed a spot from one of the Tyrrells by shooting straight across the chicane. It
was unbelievable. I mean, they've just taken this little shortcut and using it to good effect, which of course is totally unfair, but they should be penalized, of course, if they make advantage of it.
Now Schumacher 3.6 seconds back of Coulthard, which puts him 4 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen. And so Schumacher is eating into the gap at 3.6.
But very lightly. Of course, you remember this is a long race nonetheless, and Michael is going to play it cool for a while. He doesn't want to lose it. He doesn't want to overstretch those tires too soon. He's still not sure what strategy these guys are in front, and he's pulled up nearly a second in the last 3 laps on Häkkinen. And that is very good for Ferrari, not so good for McLaren. And now we're going to see just what defensive rearguard action David Coulthard can do on holding Michael up. But remember, you can overtake at Monza if the occasion arises. Quite not simply, nothing's simple in Formula 1. but there are the opportunities to overtake.
Do the long straightaways, do they create good passing zones?
Well, they do, because you can slipstream, draft behind somebody, and then pull out. And despite these very, very short braking distances at the end of this straight, for example, in the Parabolica, you can have a look down the inside. You can worry the man in front of you. But this isn't the best place for overtaking. The best really is into the chicanes, much slower, because actually, as you go into the Parabolica, you actually go through there at 100 miles an hour. Whereas you go in the chicanes, you're going through at 60.
Now there's a look from Mika Hakkinen. And
He let David by.
Yes.
He let David by. There must be something wrong with poor old Mika Hakkinen's car. That is, well, one assumes there is. That is so sad for Mika. What a good time for David on the previous lap, but Mika is backing off. Maybe he had a problem with the gearbox. Who knows? So many technical things these days can go wrong with the cars. Now, of course, Schumacher will be catching up. Hakkinen, hand over fist, one assumes. But don't forget, David might be on a two-stop strategy. And so, therefore, Mika's let him go by on pit instructions from his pits. They've said, you better let him go by, let him get away, and then you can sit there and fight it out with Michael.
2.4 from Mika back to Michael Schumacher. And you see Coulthard pulling away. Early stop for Olivier Panis.
Yeah, they were running well too. Must admit they were running well in qualifying. As I said earlier, this is one of their tracks where they test on, do a lot of work here, so that's why the cars are running somewhat better. But my goodness, that they got to get a result soon.
Panis started 9th. Well, they send him out. Long stop, 17 seconds.
You know, Michael's not making that much impression up on Mika, of course. He's there, and Mika is controlling it, but David obviously was allowed, in my opinion, was allowed to go by because he is on this two-lap strategy, exactly what we thought beforehand, and he's got to get out there and get that lead so he can not get the lead, he's got to get enough points, enough seconds in the lead. Let's just ride with Mika again.
You know, I would agree. I don't think it points to anything that might be wrong with Hakkinen's car, but that Coulthard is outplaying the rabbit.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was Ron Dennis, I'd have done just the same. It's stupid having both the cars on the same strategy. In my opinion, you'd want to get out there and change it around a bit. Let David, David's, you know, lying third in the championship. He's got obviously a bit to gain, but really it's Mika they want to get out there and beat Michael, and they've got to have this buffer. Michael using all the road as he comes out of that chicane.
I'm a little surprised at the amount of secrecy from the McLaren camp after, I think it was Hungary 2 races ago. Mika's car was leaking some sort of fluid. He's definitely had a problem. He was overtaken late in the race, and there was never any explanation as to why from McLaren. They were pointedly asked, well, was there a problem with the car? What broke? And never seen any answers.
We never got the real answer, but they said, we understand there was probably a suspension problem and also some hydraulic failure of the shock absorbers. So,
or whatever else you care to believe.
Yeah, whatever else you want to say. Why they don't tell us the truth, what the heck does it really matter?
The car, from what we saw, the car wouldn't accelerate, which may or may not point to one of those explanations.
Mind you, if a car is a little bit out of balance, these cars are so critical to drivers, no doubt Indy cars are as well, but they're so critical to drive that, in fact, if anything is slightly out of sorts, that looks like one of the stewards is doing incredibly well up.
Yes, it does. Well, it'd have to be Barrichello, who
of course,
qualified.
He shortcut a chicane, didn't he, earlier? So maybe he went a bit too much time up.
Yeah, he shortcut one, but so did one of the Arrows. To pretty good advantage. I think it was Pedro Diniz earlier who shortcut a chicane. There's a running order at 10 laps. Ralf Schumacher has been very close on Villeneuve on several occasions, but have been unable to make a move.
In fact, Damon Hill had a wonderful start because Damon was way down in qualifying. I mean, he was 14th. Down there in 14th place, and he's right behind Ralph. So he's had a storming start, and he's working his way through, just showing how well those Jordans do go and how well they're suited to this circuit as well as the damp circuit of Spa.
Boy, and is that a team that's pumped up after their 1-2 finish at Spa. Damon said he was balked by a slow car on what would have been his fastest lap. He would have started much further up in the field. And Eddie Jordan, now very proud to be one of only 25 Grand Prix teams which have ever won a World Championship race. He says, I don't want this team to be regarded as kindergarten anymore. I want experienced drivers. I want to win. He got a little taste of that, and he likes it.
Absolutely. I don't blame him either. He was posing to the camera. Oh, look out, one of the Arrows is off on the road here. He's out on the sand, keeps his foot in it. It shows how damp that stuff is out there. Look, he just picked it all up on his wheels.
Pedro Diniz able to get going again, hopefully can rejoin the race. And there's that shortcut chicane, the first of the double chicane there.
Now you can see Coulthard's pulling away from Hakkinen. Of course, the gap to Michael is probably about 2 seconds at this time as well from Hakkinen.
What do you do if you're Michael Schumacher? Do you try to run down David Coulthard, or do you maintain pace with Hakkinen if you can?
Well, Hakkinen is the one he's trying to beat. Right. David can do what he likes. And if Hakkinen gets in the way, well, then obviously Michael will have to go by. But as long as Michael's content with the speed he's running, then that's all he can do. There's no point in pushing it too much. Michael, let David go in, have that extra stop he's going to have to go in the not too distant future, in fact, to change tyres and get some more fuel. And, you know, it depends on the pace of these two.
There's Pedro Diniz.
Yes, I think that's losing it at one of the Lesmos, the first Lesmo. Not a nice place to go off, actually.
And Diniz apparently unable to restart, and he is out of the race. Fox Sports Net coverage of the Italian Grand Prix will continue after this. For watching the Grand Prix of Italy on Fox Sports Net, more Formula One racing in 2 weeks' time. September 27th, Hakkinen and Schumacher continue their rivalry into Germany as the Luxembourg Grand Prix is September 27th, 10 a.m. on most Fox Sports Net affiliates. Check your local listings. Damon Hill has moved past Ralf Schumacher. That changes 6th place.
It looks just like we just saw Frenzen having a rather hairy time coming into one of the chicanes, locking it up and going across the curves. Difficult to say with the light the way it was. Oh, and looks like Johnny Herbert's out in the sand dunes there. That's a great pity. He hasn't had a good weekend either. And of course, as we all know, he's actually going to Stewart for the next 2 years.
So Herbert out of the race, joining Pedro Diniz. David Coulthard sets fastest lap once again as fuel loads lighten. Coulthard down to a minute 26.
This is the Herbert incident as he backs straight out there at the second Lesmo. Look at it rocking around on that rivulet, sort of the where the machine has gone through and made it sort of really like rips and rolls all the way across there. Awful. Must have been he went in sideways.
So Johnny out of the race. Damon Hill all over Jacques Villeneuve now for 5th place. And coming pit side is Takagi.
He was 4th quickest this morning in warm-up. Couldn't believe it. 3 seconds quicker than he went yesterday in the qualifying. Couldn't quite understand quite why it was.
So Takagi out after 8 seconds, and there's activity in the Jordan pit.
A bit of a move here. This is Damon going past Jacques Villeneuve. Maybe Damon's on a 2-stop strategy as well. Good move, Damon. Look at the power of that Mugen Honda engine. They did find 50 horsepower not so long ago, boy, and it's really working now, that's for sure.
Well, with Jordan laid out in the pits.
Oh, look, we have a fire here. It's one of the Minardi's got in the Minardi Ford, a Ford engine biting the dust yet again. That was very fortunate. Those fire workers are right there on hand. And he obviously put his own fire extinguisher on, but he didn't put the fire out. Wasn't enough.
Shinji Nakano climbing out. And very quickly, there are 3 cars out of the race. Damon Hill surrenders 5th place.
Yes, it was a 2-step strategy we thought about. Let's just see when David Coulthard comes in and whether he's on it or not. The way that Mika let him go by makes you think he must be on a 2-lap strategy. Otherwise, there's no way Mika would let him go by. It looks like we're going to see the Nakano blow up. Look at that blow up. They do blow up in such a big way, but they're running at 16,500 revs, and when they go, they just detonate, don't they?
Hate to be behind that.
Well, much like that would be in a night race.
That's enough in the daytime. Now, how'd you like to be driving into that?
I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't...
I say, how'd you like to be driving into that?
Well, that's the terrifying thing, because you don't know what's on the road. There has to be metal on the road. There has to be oil, and that's the one thing that I think we miss a little bit in Formula One, is that in kart and in NASCAR, the guys get out there and they put lots of cement down. They actually sweep the road off under a yellow. In Formula One, they do incline to keep going. The lads do go out, the marshals do go out and pick up bits of real strong metal, but they don't see the slivers of metal that may well be there with good punctures.
Car being rolled off to a safer position. And Schumacher is taking the occasion to really close the gap now on Mika Hakkinen, who has fallen 8 seconds behind David Coulthard.
Michael really does keep the pressure up, never-ending pressure. When he was criticised a bit about his move last week at Spa, he said Well, I'm known because I push all the time. I'm known for my aggressiveness. Of course, if he hadn't been quite so aggressive, he might have won the race. But here we are. He's all the time on the power, he's right up Mika there. And of course, remember, Mika Häkkinen leads him by 7 points in the World Championship. And it's very, very important, these two, or for Michael, that they stay right together and Michael nip by.
Coulthard is 8 seconds out in front of this pair, his teammate Häkkinen and pole sitter Schumacher. Neither of the front row starters, Schumacher nor Jacques Villeneuve, got off the grid in good fashion, surrendering first and second place to the McLarens.
You must remember that last year we had Jean Alesi on pole position, and he had a great race. He led the first half of the race from David Coulthard. Very, very close race. They came in the pits, and poor Alesi had a slightly slower stop than David, and of course David Coulthard took the lead and he won the race. It would have been so wonderful to see Alesi win last year, but it was not to be. Now, of course, Michael is going to get in the air, close behind Mika's car. He's got to sum up now what is the best course of action here, because he's really quick for that second part of that chicane too. But he has to keep right. If he gets close behind him, he's going to get a lot of turbulence. And if he doesn't get close behind him, he can't get by him.
Well, if both are on a two-stop race, a lot of smoke there, and there's Coulthard has pulled off the course. The leader out of the race.
Oh, look at now. Michael's having a look at Mika. Mika all over the road trying to keep him, fend him off. Oh, he's nearly losing it. He's lost it. Michael goes by and gets the lead. They're wheel to wheel as they come down into the Lesmos. Michael takes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. Brilliant. Häkkinen was totally distracted, I would say, there by seeing his teammate go off the road. And that was it. Look at the oil on his visor from David Coulthard's car where it had blown up. That totally distracted, obviously, Mika's driving. Hark at the crowds as they hear Schumacher take the lead.
With Tifosi, the reaction will be unbelievable.
Even the marshals are jumping up and down. It's brilliant.
Well, you said there were a lot of places to pass on this circuit, and Schumacher just took full advantage. I'm sure Häkkinen just had to be tremendously surprised by the smoke from Coulthard's car.
That just shows you the difference in the attention of these two drivers. Schumacher was not perturbed at all. He could see it was an opportunity to get by Mika. Mika was perturbed by it. David's trying to refit the wheel, otherwise he gets a $5,000 penalty. But the crowds, look at the team, they're excited. Everybody in red is excited today as Michael Schumacher takes the lead.
Remember, Ferrari has won only once here in the last 10 years.
That was Michael Schumacher just 2 years ago in his first year with Ferrari. An outstanding drive, and what an incredible reception he got for Ferrari to win on their home territory.
Now Häkkinen.
This is the move.
Yes.
You see, Häkkinen's trying to shut him off on the inside, but Häkkinen gets out of shape, gets in, he's too bothered with himself. Oh dear, I'm in trouble here. Michael takes the perfect line, has worried Häkkinen to the nth degree, and Michael slithers by down the inside, going into the first of the Lesmos.
Well, it's tremendous that Schumacher was able to maintain just enough distance and his momentum that when Häkkinen slewed first one way and then the other, Schumacher could get past. Trouble on Ruben Barrichello's pit stop. Can't get the fuel door to close, it looks like. You can't get it open. I'm sorry.
Sometimes they come open. I think the higher budget teams have automatic openers and the less low budget teams have their own manual ones.
That car is worth how much?
Yes.
I mean, look.
Yes, I know. It's probably worth about $500,000.
You know,
this is Coulthard's glove. My goodness, he did go, didn't he?
You know, even my road car is a remote fuel release that you push with one button, and it usually works.
What do you expect for $12,000?
Exactly. You got a better deal than I did. What a shame for David Coulthard. Hopeful of his second win of the season. Running out front on... and now out of the race. Joining Pedro Diniz, Johnny Herbert, and Shinji Nakano.
Well, now I think we're just seeing this pit strategy that we assumed at the beginning, and for one of those rare occasions, I believe we've been right so far in that these two guys are on a one-stop strategy. And of course, poor old David wasn't. He was on a 2, but he doesn't really affect the situation at all anymore. Eddie Irvine actually isn't losing much time there either. He's pretty close behind, so it shows that Eddie is on a one-stop strategy as well, and he's ready there to pick up any positions if Michael or Mika have a problem. Here comes, I think, Verstappen into the pits now.
He was running 13th at the time of the stop.
Remember, of course, course, he will not be with the team next year. His position has been taken by Johnny Herbert, so we may not well see too much of Verstappen again. I can't think where he's going. He obviously brings money with him. He's a talented driver, but he's never scored the results that were required of him, and I don't think we'll see too much of him again, sadly.
So a stop for Verstappen at lap 18. Teammate Barrichello was in 2 laps earlier for a very, very long stop. Jean Alesi is up for 6th place now. Ralf Schumacher in 5th. Jacques Villeneuve up for 4th. And David Hill working his way back up after making his first pit stop.
Michael's just easing away from Mika as we speak.
Car's out of the race. After a look at, you see the oil all over the in-car as Schumacher goes past. Mika Hakkinen leaving just enough room for Schumacher's momentum to carry him alongside and through. Pedro Diniz crashed. Meccano with the fire after presumably the engine let go. Johnny Herbert spun off the course. Penny with a vibration after his spin off course, and now David Coulthard with apparent engine failure.
Look at Michael just easing away, just pulling away bit by bit. Now this isn't really what I anticipated at all, judging by all the testing they've done and the way McLaren like to run. Remember, of course, when they get after this, if they were to finish first and second, Mika, I think, would still, yes, he would still be in the lead of the World Championship.
Yes. By what, 3 points?
3 points, I think. But Eddie Irvine is not losing much ground back there. Remember, he's had a nice, clean race. He's had no traffic around him. He hasn't destroyed his tyres at all. And so, because he's been in clean air the whole time. Michaels would have had a problem there as he sweeps out to go by one of the tail enders as they come into braking for the first chicane.
I believe that was Tuero that he went past.
Not a difficult thing.
And Mika Hakkinen gets balked just a bit there at the chicane. So Schumacher will expand his lead. And there's activity in the Ferrari pit. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Italy on Fox Sports Net. Mike Joy with Derek Bell. Olivier Panis. Prost has just been rolled into the garage. Here's another look at the pass. Schumacher will appear on the right side of your screen.
There you go, that's it. Here we go. He just gets power down, gets it nice and neat. Mika's got it all sorts as he comes across the curbs, gets out of shape, gets on a bit of dirt on the outside, and Michael just has it, and out he goes and out drags him. Yeah, very nice bit of passing, and then into the Lesmos and is away. And now Michael has got the slower car there between the two of them as he comes out of the first chicane into the Curva Grande.
It's surprising Hakkinen has not been able to dispense that lapped car.
Well, of course, once these cars get in the corners, they handle so, equivalent, as it were, that you can't do much about it. Here he goes now on the sheer power of that McLaren engine. But really, only the McLaren and the Ferrari have similar horsepower. They have a mass amount of 700 horsepower, and maybe a little bit more. Nobody ever says just what it is, but I'm sure it's more than you and I would like to handle right now, Mike.
So now Hakkinen has cleared traffic, sets off in chase of Schumacher. 2.3 seconds is the gap, first to second. David Coulthard out with engine trouble apparently while leading.
I'd never have believed that.
No. All of that smoke allowed Schumacher an opportunity to get past Hakkinen. There are the cars out of the race. And there's the gap first to second.
It's amazing, the Circuit Monte. It was first raced on in 1922. It's been done so on all but 4 occasions since then. It's absolutely astounding when you think about it. The same track. And when you go there, you feel you're on hallowed ground. It's very, very spectacular feeling for the drivers to go there and race on it. And as something like Schumacher, when he won 2 years ago, to actually be there and win in front of the Tifosi, because they weren't very pro-Schumacher until that point.
No. Well, now the track, the configuration here has been changed several times. As Mika Salo comes in to make his stop. presume this is the first of 2 for Mika Salo.
Good stop by the Arrows team, but he's not off yet. He's still trying to do it that wheel nut at the back. Oh, he has. Making the clip in. I guess it's a safety clip on the rear wheels. Yes, there's been 12 different configurations here. And in fact, there is a bank circuit as well. And the bank circuit goes right across this track further back. As the guys come now out of the Parabolica, the old circuit used to come in from the left-hand side on their left. And here we are on it right there. That shot is of the old circuit. And as they go up the straight, they would then continue on this circuit and then come back on the bank circuit. Quite phenomenal. And if you saw the banking, you'd wonder how anybody ever went round it. Fortunately, I was fortunate enough never to have to drive on it.
Steeper than Daytona?
It's totally different. The bottom of the banking is like 8 foot off the ground. You know, if you go down too low, you fall off it. Only in Italy. Schumacher around the outside as they go through the Curva Grande.
Passing flag out.
He's not going to get too close like he did last time in the wet. But then in those conditions, you could not see. You didn't know where the other.
2.6 seconds is Michael Schumacher's lead on Mika Hakkinen. Eddie Irvine, 7.7 back. So Ferrari now first and third. Lapping Rubens Barrichello.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of another slow car in front. When I say slow, they're not that slow, but a couple of seconds off the pace as well. And of course, I think a lot of this is going to come down just how good this pit stop is going to be for these drivers. Remember, Ferrari normally do magnificent stops, but we're all inclined to make mistakes from time to time. Let's hope that both Ferrari and McLaren make immaculate stops. He's not going very fast at all. He's not happy at all, truly. He was running well, too, in 11th place. Maybe he's got the same vibration problems, which presumably his engine.
Car sounded awful.
It did sound awful.
Truly, in his home Grand Prix, really looking forward to today's race and hoping for a good result. Very animated and excited, talking about Monza and about looking about at the crowds. And
you just can't imagine what it. Oh dear! I'm glad he let him through. Thank you very much. That was a very. Yes. Looked a bit close to me. Not what I'd want to do for the Curva Grande at 160 miles an hour. But then these guys, they do respect one another quite a bit, and they know when Schumacher's there, he isn't going to take any prisoners. And he did a very, very good job of passing. Of course, Michael needed that to go by Trulli there, cruising along on the side of the road very gently. Of course, causing a bit more havoc for Mika. Look at this move down the inside, but it was on the exit that seemed to be so tight. Of course, out there where that Tyrrell is very, very slippery. There's lots of dust. Nobody runs out there much, so therefore the Tyrrell had to get in tight.
That was Takagi being overlapped by Schumacher. Now Mika Hakkinen comes up for a run at Takagi. See if this is where those long straightaways come into play. No, not going to be able to catch him here.
It's going to help Michael a lot with this gap. There's going to be, I reckon, 3.5 to 4 second gap after this. It was only 2.5 seconds last lap. He's going to have got quite a substantial amount there. Mika has been held up. Michael did not get held up much, I don't think.
Well, there's going to be a lot of whiteout in use down in the press room because everybody was saying all week long, oh, the McLarens will dominate here. The McLarens tested fast here. The McLarens will be fast. And they were on the start. With Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard taking off from the start. Coulthard then bolting to a big lead, but going up in a big cloud of smoke. And now it is pole sitter Schumacher in the Ferrari, leading Mika Hakkinen. Eddie Irvine runs in third for Ferrari, then Jacques Villeneuve, Ralf Schumacher, and Jean Alesi. Grand Prix of Italy coverage will continue on Fox Sports Net after this word. Michael Schumacher continues to lead the Italian Grand Prix, and his other favorite sport, soccer, is on Fox Sports Net every Sunday night. The English Premier League, the world's most storied soccer circuit and the world's most passionate fans and great collection of soccer talent. English Premier League soccer, Sundays at 7 on Fox Sports Net. Check your local listing. Ricardo Rosset completes his pit stop, and Jarno Trulli has had a very, very long stop. He's been in for over a minute.
Michael Schumacher just got quickest lap of the race, 125.4. As we look down at an abandoned car up against the guardrail there. Looks like Wirtz, doesn't it, parked there? You can't see where he is. He's obviously over the fence, and very wisely too. But Mika Hakkinen, I think, being very cautious in traffic, has dropped back to something like over 5 seconds. It was 3.9. He's dropped back to over 5 seconds in just a lap. simply because I think that he's been just so cautious. He needs these points more than he needs anything at the moment. He's got to finish in the points.
Right, he doesn't need to beat Michael Schumacher, but he needs to stay within a position or two here.
That's for sure. I mean, Mike Mika says, oh, there's no pressure, but he must, my friend there from Sweden must be feeling the pressure right now, that is for sure.
Schumacher's lead now 5.5 seconds.
I should have said Finland, not Sweden. I don't ever need this.
That's right, Kenny Breck will thank you. There's a rumor he may be headed for Formula One. AJ Foyt's IndyCar driver. His name is one of those that have surfaced.
Yeah, well,
some of the remaining seats for next year.
Well, all these guys, the answer is that somebody should come over and have a run in one and then just see how they like it. I think they'd find it really exhilarating and great to do, but of course the politics are so massive in Formula One. That's something I think the guys coming out of IndyCar would have to get together with.
It was Alexander Wirtz, the Benetton by the side of the road, gearbox troubles. We'll take Wirtz from the race. Boy, there's a driver who had a stellar first half of the season, and it seems like he's had nothing but bad luck since.
Yes, it hasn't really gone very well for them, but Benetton have been complaining a little bit that the McLaren team have been getting the better tyres out of Bridgestone, and I did say that earlier, is that they wanted to run this wider front tyre here, which gives them better track, better grip, of course, and better stability, and they came here with a narrow one because it suited McLaren better.
Well, if that's the team that's going to win the championship, or the team that Bridgestone has its hopes pinned on for the championship, then I'm sure that's how their game plan will be tailored. Because while we talk a lot about the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship, there is a tire battle as well, and it's Goodyear versus Bridgestone, McLaren on Bridgestone, Ferrari on Goodyear.
Look at this battle going on here, though. The second two cars, that's Villeneuve with Ralf Schumacher. Oh, it's Damon Hill. Sorry, he must be behind French. I apologize, he must be behind French. Look just like the other two going down there, going for it.
7th, 8th, and 9th. That's Fisichella in front of them, and they're all fighting for 7th spot. Now remember, Damon's already made a pit stop.
Yeah, well, exactly. He's done one pit stop. He's going to have to make another, but these guys are going to have to make one as well. So Damon's really working his way through the field. He's got fresh tyres and, of course, a very, very light fuel load. So that's why he's making inroads, because he was, in fact, something like in 14th place after his pit stop.
He surrendered 5th to make that stop, so certainly he's one of the quicker cars here today, and coming off a win at Spa.
But, of course, right now they're all going to have roughly the same. Oh, Damon had to take. He just couldn't go through that corner, otherwise he'd have spun it. He didn't gain anything from it, so he won't be penalised. But that just shows the value of it. Only 2 years ago, they had barrels stuck on those apexes of those corners to make sure the drivers didn't go off. But of course they did, and they damaged the cars profusely.
How would you like to have seen that on the formation lap when they hadn't been there all week, and suddenly for race day, here are these barrels? Oof.
Oh dear, who's that going out there wide? That's it. Eddie going out there a bit wide. Eddie doesn't need to do that. Eddie's got to keep his concentration going. He's got to keep his concentration going to keep up there and try and not lose too much to Mika Hakkinen.
Eddie Irvine in 3rd place was trying to close on Mika Hakkinen. 28 laps complete here in Monza, Italy. And last year, the teams that made one pit stop races did so at lap 30. So shortly we'll be coming up on pit stops for those cars.
Severe break in there as they come down the Parabolica. Fisichella ahead there of Heinz-Harald Frenz, and then Damon Hill in his mirrors. A good old dice shaking up right here.
And they're getting ready for Ralf Schumacher in the Jordan pit. All right, let's take a break here because we'll be having pit stops when we come back to Monza, Italy, and the Italian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher is your leader. Mika Hakkinen runs in 2nd. Eddie Irvine is in 3rd, so it's Ferrari 1st and 3rd with McLaren Mercedes in 2nd, the Williams of Villeneuve in 4th, and Ralf Schumacher in 5th. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Italy. Ralf Schumacher is in the Jordan pit after a 2nd place finish at Spa, a 9.3 second stop here at lap 31. That will be his final stop of the day, his only stop of the day, that is, and he was in 5th place.
And he comes out ahead of this group, so he's really did very well on that. He's come out ahead of these three here, which is Fisichella, Frenzen and Hill, and of course all three of them have to stop again. So that gives Ralf that advantage. He doesn't need to be behind those three. He can now perhaps capitalize a bit and pull his way back up behind Villeneuve.
That's a great battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th. Fisichella in 7th in the Benetton, and he's closing right up with a light fuel load. on Ralph. Ferrari's in. Schumacher, the race leader and pole sitter.
Let's just see how quick these guys can be. Remember, he had to take a lot of fuel on. It was a long stop, but he had to take a lot of fuel on. Here he comes out. He's going to get ahead of Ralph, is he? Oh, this is a group. This is his brother coming up. Thanks, bro. No, it isn't his bro. Beg your pardon.
No, it's one of the stewards.
Yellow, one of the stewards.
Just ahead of Eddie Irvine there, and there is Mika Hakkinen.
So it depends just how quick. Remember, the longer Hakkinen can stay out, the less fuel they have to put in, which means the shorter the pit stop. And that is the way strategy works. Maybe McLaren will make it work this time.
Now the converse of that is Schumacher has fresh tires, so the faster he will run while Mika Hakkinen stays out.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
So that's a pendulum, and it swings both ways.
You've done this before.
Esteban Tuero in the minority, a 10-second stop here at lap 31.
That's Mika Hakkinen out in the lead. Ahead of Salo, who's already, as we know, pitted.
Got more than one line of lead changes today. It's pretty good. So Hakkinen assumes the lead on Schumacher's pit stop. Schumacher was the pole sitter. Hakkinen took the lead on the start. David Coulthard took the lead from him. Then his car let go. And Michael Schumacher stormed into the lead. Now Schumacher gives it up to Hakkinen on the pit stop. Eddie Irvine is in, lap 32. Now if he comes out behind Villeneuve and ahead of that four-car battle, Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella, Frentzen, and Damon Hill. There's the gap, 15.4 seconds now. Hakkinen to Schumacher after Schumacher's stop. Jean Alesi is in the pits, had the provisional pole, started 8th.
He's had some really consistently good races, John Alesi, this year. I mean, really excellent races for Sauber. He's very well settled there. He seems to love it. Oh, look at it again. Damon Hill, he keeps doing that. That's the second, if not the third time he's run across that bit. Of course, that means that it's really, perhaps it doesn't work that well because people are using it and just testing everybody else under their brakes.
Good pit stop for Jean Alesi, 8 seconds.
That's an outstanding stop. Remember, the stops will get shorter. Here we go again.
Oh.
Whoa! That's why Damon took to the gravel.
Locked it up. Waiting for Mika Hakkinen's stop, which should hand the lead back to Schumacher. Mika Hakkinen running his quickest laps. Jacques Villeneuve. Now Villeneuve was in 3rd place. This is lap 33. And the outside pole sitter makes his one stop. Just about 9 seconds.
Very good stop indeed. This is hoping he can get out there without too much traffic problems. You have to time it so well. So you've come out and got a clear bit of road to benefit from those new tyres. McLaren are ready now.
16.1 second lead for Hakkinen. I don't believe he can stop and retain that lead, but it'll be close.
Yes, well, there's Mika Salo pulling over. Another disastrous day for the Arrows team. Gosh, they've had a terrible time this year. In fact, they destroyed about 4 cars last week at Spa, and when asked, Tom Walkinshaw said, well, we have a contingency for accidents, but we actually burnt all ours up in one weekend this time. So here comes Mika into the pits. Now he's got to beat 16.1. That's going to be quick. He's got to do a 9-second stop, 8-second stop, and get in and out. So it's unlikely. Depends what Michael's laps have been right up to this point.
Schumacher's stop was 9.3 seconds. This will be a quick one.
No, not that quick. It was slower than Michael's. It just depends whether his laps leading up to it. He had some clear laps to Michael. Where's Schumacher? There is Schumacher. He's gone by. He's still status quo. Schumacher got about a 6-second lead advantage over Mika Hakkinen as he pulls out of the pits. pleased the Ferrari tifosi no end.
They were quick enough with the tires, but took a long time with fuel on Mika Häkkinen.
Yes, they put in more fuel than I anticipated. But you never know. You don't know the actual engine efficiency of these cars, whether running these extra revs and the extra power that McLaren is very powerful. And of course, it can pull more downforce on the car. And if they're using more downforce, they could well be burning up more fuel, which would mean you'd have to put more in for the finish of the race.
Leclerc car is out of the race.
Mika Salo, one of the young drivers that never quite seems to be there at the right time and never seems to get quite the right drives. We'd all thought that having left Tyrrell that it would all come right from this year going to Arrows, but in fact it's almost gone the other way. It's probably been better off if he'd been in a Tyrrell.
Get a fix here on Schumacher's lead in a moment.
Mika's coming down now into the parabolica. There he is. Remember, Mika's got new tyres, but then so has Michael. Of course, they have to use the same tyres that they qualified on. They're not allowed to change to a different compound. They're committed from qualifying, so therefore they can't put anything extra on to perhaps help him. There's Mika Salo again. This is 5.7 seconds between Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen. As I think we received Rubens Barrichello coming in. He was in 11th place, coming in for another pit stop. This, of course, will be his second pit stop. I think we're seeing the situation now where there's a long stop too. That is almost too long. Oh, that's a long, long stop. Remember before they couldn't do up the filler cap, if I remember correctly?
Couldn't get it open.
I couldn't get it open.
This is the 10th race that Mika Salo has failed to finish this year.
Busy Keller in for a stop. Look at that brake dust with the carbon brakes. Remember, those brakes are running at something like 700 degrees Celsius. That's really intense heat. My goodness, are they efficient. Allows the car to stop from like 200 miles an hour at 130 yards from a 60 mile an hour corner. Absolutely amazing.
Now there's Frentzen also in the pits. He was the last. He'll be the last of the cars to pit.
Yes, and he of course was dicing with Busy Keller just before that, so he's absolutely murdered. Pit stop 29.8, but he absolutely murdered Busy Keller. Busy Keller then cruises out quite quietly.
Yeah, that's not a pit stop, it's a vacation.
I'd love to hear that one, Michael. What a lovely place for Schumacher to be and seeing the whole of that track in front of him, the whole of that pit straight. It's so wide, that pit straight, you can't imagine just how wide it is. And here's Verstappen coming in for his... No, it isn't. I'm sorry, it's Barry. No, it is Verstappen coming in.
And Damon Hill was in for his second stop. So that should just about complete pit stops. Lost track of the Tyrrells, but then again, that's easy to do. That's where they're running. Verstappen is out in 8.5 seconds. Michael Schumacher leads the Italian Grand Prix from Mika Häkkinen and Eddie Irvine, Jacques Villeneuve, Ralf Schumacher, and Damon Hill. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Italy. Damon Hill made his stop just as we went to break, his second of the day. Tonight at 10 on Fox Sports Net, it's Fox Sports News Prime Time with all the scores, highlights, and breaking stories of your hometown teams. 7 nights a week. Fox Sports News Prime Time, tonight at 10. Check your local listings. Shinji Nakano just in front of Schumacher, trying to lap the Tyrrell.
This is the worst chicane you have to contend with because it's the double one, and then you come out of it and then into this curve. I hope he just lets Schumacher go by. Rather similar move to one we saw before on a Tyrrell through the same corner. Nerve-wracking experience. But remember, in the old days, you used to come straight past the pits, no chicanes at all, straight in the cover ground and take it flat. Shows how slow we must have been going.
Damon Hill's stop will move Jean Alesi in the Sauber up to 6th place. 4.9 seconds is Schumacher's advantage. Eddie Irvine holds 3rd for Ferrari. Jacques Villeneuve, who started on the outside pole, 4th for Williams. Ralf Schumacher in 5th. Alesi moves up to 6th with Damon Hill's pit stop.
I hope that we might see Eddie Irvine doing a little bit more here. Ferrari. Oh, look at Jacques. Oh, was that Frentzen? Or was that had to be Frentzen? Oh, he really lost it, didn't he, going in there?
No, it's Jacques.
It's Jacques. My goodness, he lost it. He lost it going into the corner.
Trying to get the wheel off. very upset looking as he climbs out. Can't get the wheel off. What happened here?
He just threw away. Oh, look, he lost it. The tail went out as soon as he turned in. Now, this is a typical example of what happens in Formula One. The tails are so light. As soon as they brake like that, they brake so late, suddenly the back kicks out, and it does that with such venom. It's quite outstanding. I was talking to Coulthard about it the other day, and he said the car suddenly snaps away, and this is something the drivers have to try and dial out if they can. But of course, Jack was running very well in fourth spot. That lets Ralf Schumacher up into... Here he goes, look, opposite lock as he goes in. That's it, he's history. Whoa, across that gravel trap. He just comes to a halt just before, but of course he's lost the engine. He'll be very upset with that because he went so well, front row of the grid. He ran so well in the last Grand Prix.
So the defending world champion has a very sad day here in Italy. And will not score the points that would have gone with fourth place where he was running at the time.
Schumacher's got a lot of traffic to overtake now as he goes down there, a lot of tail-enders. But of course he has all to gain and quite a lot to lose, but Mika has all to lose and a little to gain today. So of course Michael is being a little bit more aggressive in the traffic. But as I said just now, I had hoped that Eddie Irvine might be up closer. They've worked very hard on Eddie's car. They've tried to give him more power, give him more work on his car. They've tried to give him the advantage. They wanted him up there with Michael to sort of get in there and perhaps get a 1-2, but certainly to mix it with the McLarens, and he's not doing that, and that is a great pity. It's not good for Eddie either. He needs that. But wouldn't it have been great to see a Ferrari 1-2 here?
Well, not only for Eddie's sake and for Ferrari's sake, but for Michael Schumacher's sake, because that would move Mika down the points ladder a little further today if Eddie Irvine can get up to challenge.
Absolutely.
John Alesi moves up to 5th and Damon Hill to 6th with the retirement of Jacques Villeneuve.
In fact, the last time Ferrari had a 1-2 wasn't that long ago, actually. One of the most emotional victories in 1988 when Gerhard Berger and Alboreto scored an emphatic 1-2 for the Ferrari team just 1 month after the death of the great Enzo Ferrari. Remember, this year is the anniversary of the 100th year of his birth. 100 years of Ferrari's birth this year. You can see the gap is closing there, but remember, this is the traffic that Schumacher's had to contend with. No wonder he's losing a few tenths here and there. Mika, of course, will have to contend with this. Michael lost quite a bit of time just going into the Curva Grande. Now he's got an open bit, sorry Mike, but he's got an open bit of track now, one car in front to contend with. Mika has now got those guys to overtake as well.
And we're told from the pits that something broke on Villeneuve's car. It was not just a loss of control, but as he went into the corner, something snapped and sent that car sideways.
Mika's not very happy with getting by this car here. He was well held up, but they're all getting held up. Schumacher's down to 3.8. He's lost a second in the last lap to Häkkinen, but Häkkinen looked like he was losing some time back there as well. Schumacher again got a slower car in front, but of course you have to be cautious. And the rear view visibility out of these cars is pretty poor.
Yeah, how small are the mirrors?
They're so small. I mean, they made them a little bit larger than before, but you can see them there, and that's not all glass. What you can see, that's the shield around them. And I've used those small mirrors. We ran it on the 333 Ferrari last year at Daytona, and really you can see nothing behind at all. I much like to have those big old bucket ones on the side. Boy, you can see the whole panoramic vision there. We see Schumacher's pulled it back to 3.5. He's maintaining that position as one of the stewards wheels it right out the way. Verstappen's parking it.
So Jos Verstappen out of the race. Joining what is becoming a long list of attrition here at Monza. 3.8 seconds. Michael Schumacher back to Mika Häkkinen.
He pulled out 0.3 of a second on that. There's Mika in third car. You can see in your view there, getting a bit of a toe off the slower car, but the slower car will hold Mika up a little bit. In fact, a lot on the acceleration out of the Parabolica. This will hurt Mika Häkkinen. But of course, Mika wants to get a fast launch out if he can. Here we go. Let's ride with Mika as he goes by.
Esteban Tuero getting overlapped by Häkkinen.
And then he dips in behind to get a bit of a toe, just to feel what it's like to have 700 horsepower in front of you, not behind you.
So Ralf Schumacher now up for 4th. Alesi and Hill fill the points-paying positions.
Hill's done quite well after his second pit stop there to actually come through like that.
I wonder if Ralf Schumacher got a little bit of a renewed challenge after team orders had something to do with that finish at Belgium, that Ralf Schumacher was told that Damon was the faster qualifier and is run up front for the race, so that's how the finish will be. That Ralf Schumacher was perhaps held in second by the Jordan team. Here this weekend, 2 weeks, one race later, Schumacher out-qualifies Damon, although Damon said he was balked on his fast lap, and with a little different strategy here, he's kind of outrun Damon. So
you don't think it was anything to do with the fact that he had a written against Eddie Jordan for the fact he wanted to be released from his contract, that had anything to do with the fact he had to come in second?
do you think?
Just a little. 3.6 on the last lap. Häkkinen really pressurizing Michael now. Of course, catching him up and overtaking is a different thing altogether.
So when Eddie Jordan said of his two drivers, Damon deserved to win, he wasn't just talking about on-track performance. I guess he might have been talking about loyalty as well.
Absolutely. But Ralf certainly was quicker, one has to admit, than Damon in that race. But then Damon was only doing what he had to do in the rain, and that was lead the race and win it. Ralf was catching up, but he had been very quick nonetheless.
Well, it looks as if it's a lot easier to drive fast looking ahead at that car than it is looking over your shoulder.
Right.
3.3 seconds now. Mika Häkkinen is eating into Michael Schumacher's lead. 3.3 seconds. The lap's winding down, but if Häkkinen can continue at this pace and not have a problem with traffic, he may just catch Schumacher. Of course, catching him's one thing, dealing with him quite another. Now it's down to 3.2 seconds, about a tenth a lap. That Mika Häkkinen is carving into Michael's lead.
Going to be pretty a dramatic finish to this Grand Prix yet. Come on, Eddie, we want you up there. You should be doing something about this, but Eddie is too far back to do anything to help Michael at this point. That is for certain.
Must be easier to chase a car you can see than one you can't.
Oh, it's much easier for Michael for Mika to be actually chasing Michael here. He pulled out a 10th, Michael did on that lap. But it's still very much easier for Mika to be chasing because he can see where he's braking and he can just nudge it in there that little bit more.
Mika Häkkinen sets fast lap of the race here at lap 43. Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Italy will continue after this word. Fox Sports Net coverage of the Grand Prix of Italy as Michael Schumacher leading Mika Häkkinen. Häkkinen leads in the Drivers' Championship, and they'll take one step closer to the finish of what's been a thrilling season. In 2 weeks' time, the Grand Prix of Luxembourg from the Nürburgring, Sunday, September 27th, right here on Fox Sports Net, 10 a.m. Sunday. Check your local listings. 3 seconds. Mika Häkkinen's brought it down to 3 seconds, Derek.
Yeah, it's getting very, very close indeed, and they're catching up a back marker car as well in front of them. Very, very tense indeed, but remember there are only 9 laps to go, and that's quite a lot to do. And that, I think, in front of him would be Fisichella.
Now, Fizzy had run in 7th place prior to his most recent pit stop,
which seemed remarkably long. And of course, behind him is, of course, his Frentzen. Here we are now. Let's see what Fisichella will do for Schumacher, whether it'll help him at all by getting out of his way. Remember, of course, that now you're getting up against cars that are faster. They're much faster in the straight, much faster around the corner, so it's a lot more effort to get by these tail-enders, and you have to judge it so impeccably. Schumacher going down there behind Fisichella, using him for a bit of a tow, but he's still not going to get by him before the chicane. But, of course, Fisichella is a very, very good young driver.
Boy, look at Schumacher eat him up under braking.
But of course it's a double chicane now.
And Jean Todt was down there to talk to the Benetton team and ask for a little help.
Get your boy to move over, kid. I don't think he really has to do that.
No.
Because I'm sure Fisichella will do so. Here you go, 2.6. But of course, here he goes. Michael pulls out, goes past Fisichella. Now, of course, he's got another guy in front of him. That's Heinz-Harald Frenzen's in front of
oh!
Häkkinen's off. That's Michael Schumacher's going to take the lead in the World Championship. Look at the crowd cheer as Häkkinen goes off. Totally caught out by something there. We'll never know what he's in the middle of the road.
He's going.
Running, but where's Eddie Irvine? Is Irvine going to come through and get that second place? No, he's got it going again, but where's Eddie? Did he damage his car? Eddie should have gone through. Oh, that went by. There wasn't much room there.
Amazing. Schumacher
gets the break, but Eddie will still be in 3rd place. There was a 31-second gap between Michael and Eddie. And and or certainly 31 back there somewhere, and there's no way that there was 31-second loss by Häkkinen.
You don't see Häkkinen make many mistakes, and let's see what happened here.
Look at it, he loses it just under braking. That's it, straight in, but he's keeping the engine running. He's desperate. He knows his world championship's flying away. He's letting it roll backwards. Just let the wheels roll. He hasn't even got the brakes on, you'll notice. None of the wheels are locked up. He hasn't damaged the brakes. He's kept the engine running. Look at him, lose it and launch himself off that left-hand curb. He just lost it under braking as he went in.
At the second chicane, very dangerous to roll back out there toward and onto the track. Fortunately, no oncoming traffic, and they're going to pit him.
Well, they're prepared in case he damaged something, so they're ready. They're not going to give him the opportunity to come in and them not be ready. He said, just be ready, because obviously he's going to have stones and shingle all over the wheels. He's not going to know. Here, Mike, he's going slowly, Häkkinen is. He's off again. He shot across the chicane. He has got something wrong with the car somewhere. 21 seconds, Eddie's only about 8 seconds behind. Remember, he's got shingle and stuff stuffed in those wheels, probably in the brake calipers, and of course there's vibrations and noises that you hear and you think, is something going wrong with the car? Is there anything wrong with it? And in fact, probably nothing, and he's got to let the shingle come out.
Well, prudence would dictate a stop.
No, well, it wouldn't. Not with 7 laps to go.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't. Michael will take the lead in the World Championship. I believe, I'm not very good at mathematics, if he had to pit and it allowed Eddie Irvine through to take the second place.
Well, let's see, what is it, 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. So no, Mika would leave here with 1 point of a lead if he were to finish third. The crowd is going absolutely berserk.
All they need is that Ferrari to keep going. It's incredible to think that Schumacher could well win the second Grand Prix for Ferrari in a period of 3 years. Here we go, let's watch Mika again. Here he comes. Oh, he went, that's the second time. That's where he shot across the chicane. He realized he wasn't going to get, didn't even lock the brakes up. But it makes you wonder whether there was something wrong with the car. Mika should stay out, in my opinion, unless the car is undrivable.
The car wasn't very stable under braking. I wonder, as you said, Derek, with all that on his tires, was that the first heavy braking zone he'd gotten to since the spin?
No, he'd braked the Parabolica.
Oh, true.
He'd brake very hard, but he didn't seem to be going that quick with the Parabolica.
No.
27-second lead now over Häkkinen. Eddie Irvine must be fairly close behind Mika at this point.
Frentzen has Fisichella now to battle with just behind the race leader, it appears.
Can you imagine the relief in Schumacher's mind when he saw that car flying off the road? I mean, because Häkkinen was definitely putting pressure on Michael there.
Yeah, he was closing at about 1/10 a second.
He's 5 seconds a lap slower on the last lap. So Eddie Irvine could well catch Häkkinen up. Where is Eddie? I can't even. There he is. Eddie's the third car in the shot. Just you saw the wheels as he went through the chicane. I'm pretty sure that was Eddie. Of course, Mika's now got to work it out in his own mind. Yes, it's far better for him to stay out there. Let's just see. Where's the third car? Is it red? Can't see it.
Perhaps in this view. Nope. So Mika Häkkinen struggles to hang on to second place with a car that is not performing to his liking. 6 laps to go in the Italian Grand Prix. We'll be right back with you after this. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Italy. Mike Joy with Derek Bell. Mika Häkkinen has now fallen just 5 seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine. There's Irvine, top of your screen, trying to make it a Ferrari 1-2 finish, and now that gap has shortened to 3.3 seconds. Let's show you again what happened to Mika.
Look at the way he lost it. Just as he turned in, one of the brakes grabbed and he spun it round. He must have wondered quite what happened because he must have done it so many times, but he kept those wheels turning all the time. And notice he didn't keep on the brakes, kept the engine running. Now he selects the gear and off he goes. Here he goes again. He was lucky he didn't do any more damage than he did, but look at him just letting it roll back. Very clever bit of driving there. Let the car roll back out of harm's way, keep it all running. Doesn't want to put flat spots on the tires when he hits the road, but there we go. Of course, Michael's out there. Michael has a 27-28 second lead, but Eddie Irvine is right behind Mika Häkkinen now. Häkkinen is going slower. Now Eddie Irvine can make this a Ferrari 1-2 if he was to get by Mika Häkkinen in the dying stages of this fantastic Grand Prix.
Now Häkkinen must be wondering what kind of shape that car is in, even though he's reported back to the pit.
Come on, Eddie's gone. Eddie's got him. Look at the crowd go. It's going to be a Ferrari 1-2. Look at those grinning mechanics. That's amazing. Mika obviously does have a problem. It may well have been part of the problem that he's spun off, and it may be recurring every time he puts his foot on the brakes because he wasn't very quick into that corner. I just can't believe we're going to see a Ferrari 1-2 here at Monza. Let's just watch it again as he comes down, and there comes Eddie Irvine straight through, no trouble. Mika didn't even try to hold him up.
You saw the flag marshals, even the photographers waving for Eddie Irvine.
Schumacher's just got to keep that beauty going. Eddie Irvine in second place. Don't amazing things happen in motor racing?
Mika Hakkinen would leave here with a 1-point lead in the World Championship, with a third-place finish here today. And even that may be in doubt, depending on what's wrong with that McLaren Mercedes.
Well, if these two make it to the line, you're going to see scenes at Monza that you have not seen in many, many years. Because at the same time, they're so close to winning the championship. Just imagine if Schumacher had not had his moment at Spa, how emphatic this victory would be towards winning the world title. Poor Mika, I feel so sorry for him. He's been leading the world championship all year. The pressure's been on him. He said it hasn't. And the car has worked so well for him, but he made a mistake, we assume, or else something just made him tip him off the road, which has not given him the confidence to brake late at this present time. And therefore, he's just coasting the car. He doesn't seem to be using the revs of that car either.
No, Ralf Schumacher is closing on Mika at the top of your screen, and should he pass Hakkinen, we would leave here with a tie for the Drivers' Championship.
And that would be something else going into the Nürburgring. Can you imagine it? Schumacher country.
Gee.
Probably be snowing anyway.
Well, I wonder if it was the car or if it was Mika. I mean, Hakkinen he's an excellent driver, one of the 3 best in the world, and we've rarely seen him make a mistake.
No, we will no doubt hear something afterwards, but he's cruising now. That could well be damage incurred during the incident, but to me, as he came down there, the car just seemed to veer out away from under him. Whether he lost the brakes, now we don't know whether McLarens have had brake problems. Some of the people had brake problems during practice here in testing the other week. Maybe he has some slight brake imbalance there.
3 laps to go in the Italian Grand Prix.
But Schumacher's right there. He's not far behind right now. 3 laps to go. I believe Schumacher will demote Mika Hakkinen before the end of this race.
Michael Schumacher, Ralph's older brother, comes across. 3 laps to run. And a big lead. Check that. 2 laps now.
Come on, let's just watch what's happening behind. Michael's on his own now. Doesn't mean to say he's going to win it, but he's on his own. Schumacher must be getting by Michael. Must be getting by Mika, should I say. Ralf Schumacher should be getting by Mika, judging by the crowd's hysterics.
Well, with Italy being the host country for the video feed today, and Michael Schumacher with a 40-second lead driving a Ferrari, I think about all we're going to see the rest of this race is red.
That's all those Tifosi want to see, is red Ferraris.
And they're running 1-2, and Ralf Schumacher has taken Mika Hakkinen for 3rd place. So what a great 2 weeks for Ralf Schumacher, a 2nd and what looks to be a 3rd here in Italy.
Let's just hope Mika can keep going. Remember, Alesi, I believe I'm right in saying, is not far behind.
Right.
Ralph's up to the, what incredible thing, 2 Ferraris and your brother on the winner's rostrum. What an amazing turn-up.
You couldn't script it.
I wonder how our man is getting on down there with Sylvester Stallone. It's about time he got on and made this movie, you know. Monza for the 2nd time in 2 years. That time they get on and did something about it. He'll be trying to think how to work the script out on that one after this race.
1 lap. 2 Ferraris, the Jordan, the McLaren, the Sauber, and Damon Hill in the points again. Then quite a couple of 2 weeks for Eddie Jordan as well. Two weeks time, the Grand Prix of Luxembourg on Fox Sports Net, and it appears we're going to have a tie for the Drivers' Championship.
Absolutely amazing just for these 2 guys to come 1st and 2nd in Italy in front of this Italian crowd on the way to possibly winning the World Championship. And just think what it does for their points in the Constructors' title with Ferraris 1st and 2nd and only 1 McLaren to pick up some points. Absolutely outstanding. Ferrari guys getting ready there on that famous old pit wall that's been there for the last 50 years. The cheers, the trumpets all going, and as Michael works his way down through the Ascari curve, down the back straight for Parabolica for the last time. the feeling, the thoughts that are going through his mind as he comes down there to win for Ferrari when they never thought. He's raising his fist already because he knows he can cruise the finish line as he has to with the engine stopped.
Michael Schumacher, victory number 33 in Formula One competition, checkered flag. Schumacher for Ferrari. The winner, Eddie Irvine, will come home second. And Ralf Schumacher will join his older brother on the podium. What a wonderful day for the Schumachers and for Ferrari.
Absolutely outstanding day for them, one has to say that for Ferrari. I must admit, I didn't think before the race they'd do it. Shows when Ferrari go testing, it is their home test circuit. When they go testing, they don't give it all away. They don't tell everybody just how well their testing went. But my goodness, the reliability of those Ferrari engines. Here comes Eddie Irvine. What a historic second place for him. He was a lucky boy, though.
Yes.
But nonetheless, historic. Ralf Schumacher coming across just behind him. Look at that sea of red, Mike.
That's wonderful. The fans duplicating Schumacher's victory wave, a double pump.
They'll be supping some Lambrusco tonight, let me tell you. When you consider it's their 601st Grand Prix, 100 years since Mr. Ferrari was born.
10 years since he passed on.
10 years since he passed on, and they had a magnificent celebration last night. All the drivers from the past went there. Magnificent. Everybody enjoyed it so much. Schumacher was there, Irvine was there. Not easy to get everybody there.
Ferrari president Luca Montezemolo talked about Ferrari's tradition that combines passion, technology, and competition, and we've seen a bit of all three here today.
Well, Schumacher and Häkkinen on equal points. That is astonishing to go into the last two races on an 80-point equal situation.
There's a look at driver points. Very happy Ferrari team, and listen just to the din of the crowd.
John Tott, who with Montezemolo has transformed this team. There are the two Ferraris. Look at that, and Ralf sitting in there behind.
We'll be right back with all the excitement of the celebration, and of course we'll hear from the top three finishers, so stay with us here on Fox Sports Net as the pit lane explodes with well-wishers here in Monza, Italy. We'll be right back. On Fox Sports Net has been brought to you by Bridgestone, the next revolution in tires. Down in Parc Ferme, Jean Todt, a big hug for both the Schumacher brothers and Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, I mean, a really historic finish.
Well, now I can understand Jean hugging Ralf Schumacher, because it was Ralf that put Mika Häkkinen another spot down in the running order and took another point away from Mika. So 10 points for Michael today, 6 for Eddie, 4 for Ralf, 3 for Mika, 2 for Jean Alesi. And the final point to Damon Hill. Toru Takagi with a top 10 finish, along with Barrichello. I believe that's the best of the Turtles this year. Esteban Tuero 11, Ricardo Rosset, Jarno Trulli came on to the finish, and there's that big heart-shaped flag with the Cavallino Rampante on the Ferrari shield. There's the tie in the Drivers' Championship as we head for Luxembourg Grand Prix. David Coulthard and Eddie Irvine gained some on Coulthard. Second place is not all, or third place is not all that safe. And up to the podium go the Schumacher brothers and Eddie Irvine.
What an amazing feeling to go up there with your teammate and your brother on the winner's rostrum. That last slowing down lap was absolutely wonderful.
golden to Michael
That was Michael Schumacher conducting the Monza Philharmonic, where the most popular instrument is the flagpole. Ferrari will close to within 10 of McLaren in the Manufacturers' Championship. They came in here 23 points back, and now the Manufacturers' chase, 128 for McLaren, 118 for Ferrari, and behind them quite a battle for third. Williams 33 points, Benetton 32, and Jordan 31. Those fans in pit lane had to climb over 15-foot fences to get into that area and bring their flags along. Derek, at the top of the day, you would have gotten long odds on a Ferrari 1-2 finish.
You certainly would. Michael Schumacher was 3-1 in Autosport. And Mika Hakkinen was 2-1. But a 1-2 like that, and brother Schumacher third, that's astonishing. Almost Eddie Jordan must regret the fact that he didn't take up Ralf Schumacher's option in Canada and let it slip by to try and get him cheaper for next year. I'm afraid sometimes, Eddie, you shoot yourself in the foot.
There's the champagne shower. Ralph getting a good dose on his brother.
And of course, Jean Todt catching it as well. He doesn't give a darn, does he? He loves every second of it. And that young man, or the gentleman in the middle, Jean Todt, he's really one of the major players behind this Ferrari revival, of course, with Michael Schumacher, but he was there before Michael. Brilliant.
Mika Hakkinen indicates he was having brake problems in his McLaren Mercedes. And that dropped him down the order when he was catching up Michael Schumacher for the lead. Got to spill a little more champagne, and then they'll head off for the press conference, and so will we. We'll be right back with you on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to the Italian Grand Prix, where the Ferrari Tifosi have lots to celebrate with a 1-2 finish. Derek, let's look back on the pivotal moments today.
Yeah, this was Mika Hakkinen getting a bit out of shape, having lost his concentration when Coulthard's engine blew up in front of him. Michael Schumacher, much calmer, goes through on the inside. Takes him as they go into the beginning of the Curva Grande. But Mika Hakkinen has a lurid moment when his brakes play up on him and he goes backwards across the sand trap. He very sensibly backs off the brakes, lets the car run backwards, keeps the engine running, gets a gear, and then off he goes. Let's take another look at him as he comes in. Look at the speed at which he comes in, over 100 miles an hour. You can see just as he goes backwards across, just to keep it all going. Lucky man.
The tie between Hakkinen and Schumacher ensures that this championship will not be decided until the final round in Japan. And David Coulthard begins to feel pressure from Eddie Irvine, third place just separated by 10 points. The constructors' battle tightens. Ferrari just 10 points behind McLaren Mercedes. And look at third on back. Williams, Benetton, and Jordan are separated by just 2 points. Well, let's join the podium finishers in the unilateral press conference.
Michael Schumacher, second Eddie Irvine, and third Ralf Schumacher for Ferrari 1-2, and Jordan back in the points yet again. Michael Schumacher, congratulations, a win on home ground, but it didn't look so good at the start. Tell me about your getaway.
No, it looked like I wanted to go for a walk rather than for a race, and no, it was terrible, my start. I just slipped the wheels initially instead of getting a good takeoff, and it was decided that it was a bad start. So what could go wrong went wrong. I lost a lot of positions. Finally, I was able to catch Jack straight back, so that was good. Then catching Eddie, and Eddie obviously didn't make it difficult and let me by to catch back the McLarens.
But then you got up onto Mika's tail, and David Coulthard pulled off, and at that very moment you went past Mika. Did he make a mistake at that instance?
I mean, there was quite a time in between. I mean, he let Coulthard by, and Coulthard was disappearing in the distance, so it was just between Mika and myself. For quite a number of laps we were challenging each other. And then there was this tremendous engine blow from I don't know who, which made it impossible to see through the corner, and you didn't know where is the car, so we had both really to slow down a big time. Mika actually went onto the grass. I was still behind him. He then lost it into the chicane. He went wide and struggled, so I could out-accelerate him after the chicane into the first Lesmo, which was hairy. I mean, he obviously pulled over and tried to close the door. I still went through, and that decided the race for me.
But after you'd come in for your tyre change and Mika had done the same, he was really starting to catch you. Were you very worried at that stage that perhaps you got the wrong tactics?
No, not at all. I mean, I knew I didn't have to make a pit stop anymore and everything was going easy. No, I was not worried at all, because it's one thing to catch someone by that little margin he catched me, because it was only 2-3 tenths, he was faster at the time. And to overtake somebody you have to be a lot faster, and our straight line speed wasn't so different today, so I wasn't worried really. But he was nicer after he went off and I had a big lead and just took it easy.
Absolutely, congratulations, Michael. Eddie, second again, but a fantastic result for you here at Monza.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on the podium. It was, you know, at one stage there it was getting boring. You know, it was 6 or 5 in the trot or something, and then it's amazing how quickly it stops getting boring, you know, after you've missed a few, so well pleased to be up here.
Now, you had quite a good battle catching up with Jacques Villeneuve, then he went off. Did you have any problems in the race thereafter?
Well, I was ahead of him most of the race, then I made a mistake at one of the Lesmos and ran a bit wide. He closed up on me, then I got held up by traffic, and then I pitted and came out ahead of him, and he was pushing hard to catch me, but I don't think he'd quite had the speed, and eventually made a mistake, and that left me a big gap to Ralph, so I just backed off then, and of course Mika then had his problems, so I started pushing, did a few quick laps, got ahead of him, and then backed off again because I really wasn't happy with the car from the start of the race. I set up very stiff and it was very difficult to drive.
Over to Ralph. Now, you started 6th on the grid, but Damon was starting much further back, your teammate, and he got quickly onto your tail, so you must have been running different strategy. Do you think you were running the right one? It seems that way.
Well, I mean, at the end, it turned out that he got a point, so it was definitely a good strategy for us and for him. But, I mean, the quickest one was definitely one stop, but he had no other choice, really, if he wanted to make a place. So, I mean, I'm happy for him and for the team.
But you say you're happy with the team. You're still 5th in the championship, but Williams is on 33, Bennett on 32, and Jordan now on 31. Do you think it's possible that we will see Jordan finishing 3rd in the Manufacturers' Championship?
Well, I mean, I hope so. There's a big possibility now, and both Damon and me are fighting for it. And I hope that, before I leave Jordan, really, that we finish 3rd in the Constructors.
Thank you very much. Now, Jeff.
So Ferrari has its 13th Grand Prix victory in Italy, as Michael Schumacher stands atop the podium. We'll be right back with final thoughts after this. Michael Schumacher has now equaled Mika Häkkinen's win total at 6. Schumi's won 5 of the last 8 races. Häkkinen, handy lead in poles. He's led twice as many laps as anyone else and has 6 fast laps to Schumacher's 4. Every Sunday night, English Premier League soccer on Fox Sports Net, the world's most storied soccer circuit, most passionate fans. Sundays at 7. Check your local listings. And tonight at 10 on Fox Sports Net, Fox Sports News Prime Time, covering your hometown teams 7 nights a week, tonight at 10. A 1-2 finish for Ferrari here in Italy. Ralf Schumacher on the podium for Jordan. Mika Häkkinen salvages 4th. John Alesi is 5th. And Damon Hill picks up the final championship point. And Frentzen, Fisichella, a good result for Takagi and Barrichello. Also classed as finishers, Tuero, Rosset, and Trulli.
Well, the story at the beginning of the race was the Minardi Ford Nakano's car just illuminated itself. Meanwhile, it was David Coulthard that overtook Mika Häkkinen to go off and actually appeared to be driving off into the sunset. But it was not to be. Not long later, it was David Coulthard's engine that expired. And we saw another form of the disappointment that they've been having for David Coulthard during this season. Pulls off. So disappointed he must be. Nonetheless, it was Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen that continued on this phenomenal battle. Mika went a little bit loose going into one of the chicanes. Michael out drags him into the Lesmos, and that really was the story for a while there. And it was Michael that went on. Nonetheless, Ron Dennis, team chief, and not at all happy. Mika Salo has a horrible time here. Another engine failure for the Arrows team. They've had an awful year. Poor Jacques Villeneuve has something go astray, maybe a bit of suspension collapse, we don't know. Off he went when he was lying in a very strong position, would have probably been on the podium at the end of the race. But meanwhile, Michael Schumacher proceeds in his own good way, right at the front. But Mika Häkkinen, meanwhile, he has brake problems. Goes off in the sand, manages to keep it going, lets the clutch out. Off he goes in first gear, and he hasn't damaged the tyres. But of course, at the end of the day, it was Michael Schumacher, the enthusiasm, the excitement on the Ferrari team's faces. And of course, this poor old Mika still having problem with those brakes. losing time as he goes across the chicane, but it's Eddie Irvine that had come up from being like 30 seconds behind, storms through, gets by Mika Hakkinen, who gives him no problem at all coming into the Saskari chicane. Ferrari mechanics absolutely over the moon as he goes through to take a wonderful 1-2 for Michael Schumacher and Ferrari and Eddie Irvine. And Michael takes this historic victory. And of course it was his brother who comes in third place in the Jordan. Wonderful for Ralph and for Michael and of course for Eddie and the Ferrari fans. Memorable weekend for everybody.
It's the 13th victory in the Italian Grand Prix for Ferrari. And the second for Ferrari for Schumacher here.
Look at these fans, they're really enthusiastic. Look at these people. I just love seeing that Ferrari emblem down. If there's nowhere else in the world that you see the Ferrari emblem the way you do at Monza. And so win there for Ferrari must be something very, very special. Not many people have done it in a Ferrari car.
And to finish 1-2, what a tremendous result, far more than I think they expected from this weekend. The World Championship will not be decided until the final event, the Japanese Grand Prix, November 1st at Suzuka. Now that Hakkinen and Schumacher are tied, 80 points apiece with just 2 races remaining. Eddie Irvine getting close to David Coulthard for third. Ferrari now just 10 points back of McLaren in the manufacturer's chase, but the big battle there is at third as well. Williams, Benetton, and Jordan separated by just 2 points among the 3 of them. 2 weeks to the Grand Prix of Luxembourg at the Nürburgring, September 27th, 10 a.m. on your local Fox Sportsnet affiliate. That's 10 a.m. local time. Well, Michael Schumacher got all he asked for and more today.
He most certainly did, and after all the testing that they've done there, it's Ferrari's home test track, but you would think that they would have been more confident, but everybody said it's going to be McLaren's again, but somehow those Ferrari boys, they really do their homework, and they came through exceptionally well, and it makes you wonder just what the race is going to be like at the Nürburgring in a couple of weeks' time. An outstanding race. I'm sure we're looking all forward to it. It's going to be outstanding just to see just what comes up between the McLaren and the Ferrari.
And what's happened to McLaren? Their reliability was so strong at the start of the season, and they just came up blank today.
Yes, well, at the beginning of the season, we all thought McLaren's going to steamroll away. Ferrari's had a failure at the beginning of the year, and as the season's progressed, it's been Ferrari that's come out the stronger all the way. They've really done their homework, and at the end of the day, it's McLaren that are having the problems.
So it's even up for the World Championship. Mika Hakkinen versus Michael Schumacher, McLaren versus Ferrari, Bridgestone versus Goodyear as we go to Luxembourg and Japan. For Derek Bell and Peter Windsor, I'm Mike Joy, congratulating Michael Schumacher on his 6th Grand Prix victory of 1998, equaling Hakkinen in the Drivers' Championship. We've got our race on our hands with 2 to go. We'll see you from Luxembourg in 2 weeks' time, September 27th. Formula One racing on Fox Sports Net.